Hooked on the brothers. The brothers. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it in Matt Time the Pilot. Right after the movie, we're going to give you our gut reactions to the movie we saw. And we're going to try to answer such questions as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you see it in theater? Should you wait for streaming? Should you get snacks or should you pass on the snacks? Should you schedule a bathroom break through it? We'll try to answer some of those questions. Or we might just go off the rails. You never really know with us. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome back, Tim. And we saw a movie, and I do recommend you get snacks for this. Maybe you could get some mushrooms. Oh. Well, with that clue and with Todd's intro, you should know by now that we saw the Super Mario Brothers movie tonight. And so who's in this movie? There's a bunch of it's an animated movie, so they're voice actors in this film. But we've got Chris Pratt, we've got Anya Taylor-Joy, we've got are you showing me? Oh.
Yeah, I just figured it'd be easier.
Charlie Day. Mm-hmm. We've got Jack Black.
Hold on. We'll get that area.
Keegan Michael Key.
Yep.
And Fred Armisen.
Yep.
And Seth Rogen.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, these are famous people that are in this movie. What is the movie about? Well, it's about two plumbers who are brothers. Their names are Mario and Luigi Mario.
From Brooklyn.
They're from Brooklyn. And we meet them in the quote-unquote real world of Brooklyn, where their plumbing business is trying to get started up. And eventually they get sucked into a warp pipe, I guess is what they get sucked into. And they get split up, and Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, and Luigi ends up in the Dark Lands, and they have a big adventure to save the Mushroom Kingdom and save each other, involving Bowser and Toad and Princess Peach and all manner of Nintendo things. Donkey Kong. The Kongs. Many Kongs are in this movie. Basically it's just like a Mario game. They progress through the levels of the game, if you will, going through different environments and trying to stop Bowser from destroying the Mushroom Kingdom, as has happened in so many games. And There's Mario Karts, there's power-ups, there's all the things from Mario games. And in the end, as you can imagine, there is a resolution. And that is where I'll leave that. And Todd, I'll ask you for your gut reaction to the Super Mario Brothers movie.
And I will give it. But first, well done to your intro to the movie.
Thanks.
Like there was a lot to cover, and you did it in a very short amount of time, and you kind of nailed it.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna
played
use
this game before.
Yeah, I'm gonna use a word that I don't like to use for reviewing movies, but I feel like this movie just encapsulates that. This is just a fun time. It's a fun movie.
That's my word.
Yeah, I know. I'm stealing it because I get to go first. So this is a fun hour and 45 minutes, like to just lose yourself in, especially if you played the games, just lose yourself in the fun of the game and all that kind of stuff. I thought that the voice acting was really great. Honestly, I like the society we live in now, everyone tore the voice acting apart, like just from like the couple of lines you hear in the trailer.
Unfairly.
Yeah, and then now you go see the movie and it's like, okay, that was all fine. Like I don't feel like the only voice that I feel like did not fit the character was Cranky Kong, who was going for Cranky, but also forgot that Cranky Kong is a super old kind of guy. So, But otherwise, I thought everyone did good.
Mm-hmm.
The animation's on point because, you know,
Looks straight out of the
Illumination.
game.
Yeah. And then, you know, they did a fantastic job of just incorporating so many aspects from all the games. Not just, you know, Super Mario Brothers, but you got Smash Brothers, you got go-karting. What's the name of that game?
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. There you go. You've got all the different levels from a lot of the Mario games. You got all the different characters from the Mario games. Like, there's just a lot in this movie. And on the whole, it works. There's so much. But I feel like my biggest complaint with this movie is that they crammed so much into it. Like, and at times it was stellar how much they crammed into it. And you're like, that's cool. Look at all this background stuff. And then at other times I found myself just going, like, they crammed so much at the sacrifice of plot and story and stuff like that. And I think that's a decision they made because it is a kids movie. Like, they're like, we just got to appease the kids. Like, you get the kids, the adults will come. And, but, you know, as I'm rating the movie itself and my gut reaction, I just felt like they tried too hard to cram every possible thing they could into this movie. And that kind of hurt, at times, the flow of the movie for me, and it hurt the overall story. I felt. I could be on my own about that. But honestly, and I think that's really only the biggest kind of complaint I had. But at times it really did bring me out of the movie. Like, I was in it, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I obviously they have to hit this point, so here they're going this way to hit this theme and then that theme. It just was too much. At times I felt it was just way too much. But I think there's a huge rewatchability to this movie because there's so many Easter eggs and fun things in the background. It reminded me of the in the new Space Jam movie where all the Warner Brother properties are around. But instead of that scene was like 5 minutes, this is like half of the movie. It's like stuff in the background. So if you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. So maybe in your second watch through, or maybe third watch through, you catch stuff that you didn't catch in the theaters, and that's probably a fun aspect. But yeah, I thought it had way too much stuff in it. I liked it, but it just was jam-packed. And a major minus to me, is they... so Bowser in this movie has like a floating island, basically, like that he's moving from place to places. And what a lost opportunity to... Why didn't they just use the ship from Super Mario... It's not 2. What's the one where almost every level you climb the ship and take out the floating ship? That would have been perfect for these scenes. It was like a floating pirate ship.
Yeah, I remember the game you're talking about. I don't remember what you're talking about.
Because it had that villain in it who uses the wand.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And I was like, what a missed opportunity. Like, all these little Easter eggs they're throwing in, and they didn't go for the obvious one. Which was a miss for me. But I'm not going to ding it too hard for that. So, I guess, overall, I endorse this movie. I think you should see this movie. Do you need to see it in theaters? If you want to take your kids out and let them experience the theater, this is a good movie to do that. Like, if your kid's at an appropriate age and you're like, you know what, this could be a first movie for them. Everyone knows the Super Mario Brothers. Everyone knows this kind of stuff. This would be the perfect first movie for your younger kids, I feel. And then if you're an adult, like we are, it's still good because you get the Easter eggs and it's fun and you have a good time. But just too much stuff for me. So I say see it. Do you really need to see it in theaters? I don't know. If you love the theater aspect of stuff, then yes. If you're going to take your kids, then sure, have a nice time of it. But if you're an adult and you're like, should I see this in theaters? I would argue you could probably just wait. I don't know if you're going to miss much from theater to TV, but I could be wrong. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Tim?
Yes, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a blast, especially for, I think adults can love it, or maybe even more than kids. There's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of, like it's a love letter to the Nintendo world, especially the Mario world. If you grew up with these games, you'll just be smiling along as they hit all the notes that you would expect them to, while even leaving some out for maybe future ones. But I thought, like you said, the voice acting was unfairly criticized ahead of the movie because everybody was fine. Chris Pratt's Mario is great. He's the Brooklyn accent. You forget it's him after a while, and that's the point of a good cartoon movie, is that you're not thinking about who's voicing it. It's just that's the character, and it really worked for pretty much everybody. And the visuals are fantastic. Like, it looks like an extended cutscene from the games. Like, it's the animation style is straight out of the games, and everything looked great. I actually would argue it is a theater movie because the visuals are so strong, and it looks great on a big screen. So colorful and bright, and it's just, and the sound is great. And I want to definitely give a shout out to the score. It's a fantastic movie version of all the themes you think about from Mario games. They're all recognizable, but played up into different scenes, and they're sprinkled in there as little Easter eggs. Some of them are played fully, and it's all wonderful. You get some Jack Black singing, as he likes to do in his movies, but it's played for laughs. I just thought there's just so much fun in this movie, and so much, like I said, love letter to the Mario world, where you could tell the people who made this had a lot of fun making it, and wanted to like give the fans a bit of a journey through all the Mario worlds, and so even if you're kind of an outsider and you've only played a couple of the games, you can still have fun with this movie. And then, obviously they want to set up probably a universe here, and maybe we'll see a few more movies where we can explore more of the backgrounds and Easter eggs that we didn't get in this one. But overall, I just think this is a treat for both kids and adults, and I look forward to seeing what's coming next for this world.
Fair enough. Matt?
Well, I thought this movie was delightful.
Yes, that's a great word. Great word.
I loved it. I thought it was, as you guys have touched on, it was just a lot of nostalgia, a lot of just delightful little reveals, and I have to say, you just said it, Tim, but the music was fantastic.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Not only the use of all the Nintendo, the music from all the Mario games that you are familiar with if you spent any time in a basement playing through some kind of Mario game. You're familiar with what different music means, maybe, and you get to hear that. But also, you get some modern songs in there too.
Oh, true, yeah.
And
they're all used to good effect.
They're used to good effect, and they're, they make the movie better.
You both forgot to point out the best song that was used, which was the Donkey Kong rap from Donkey Kong 64.
I thought you were going to say the Super Mario Brothers Super Show plumbing rap from the old days, because that was also great.
Both featured in this movie, yes. I had a great time. There was a number of times where I just found myself chuckling or laughing, and it was great. As far as the negatives, I thought it was a real missed opportunity to not have Lakitu, the guy who rides in the cloud with the fishing rod, to pull Mario and Donkey Kong out of the water after they fell off Rainbow Road. But we got the eel from Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy is what I was told by my sources. But that's like just a funny thing, really, more than anything. I didn't have really many negatives about this movie at all. At one point, I thought that the pacing was going a little sideways, but they kind of recovered for the ending. So I really think that the beginning of this movie is very strong. As you set up the relationship between Mario and Luigi in Brooklyn, and you start to see hints of the world of the Nintendo Super Mario world, and then as they move into they go through the warp pipe and end up in Nintendo Land, I guess, with with all the things. I think there's a slight slowdown in the middle of the plot, but they pick back up for a big finish at the end. And you will want to stay. There are two credit. There's a mid-credit and an after-credit scene that are fun. So anyway, I really liked it. I think you should see it, and especially if you're, if you grew up playing any Nintendo, any Mario games, you owe it to yourself to see this. So,
splendid. Nice points from everyone. So, getting down to business. How many King Bob-ombs would you give this movie? Who is in this movie, sadly, for not a long time, but was my favorite boss fight from Mario 64. 0 being the worst, because then you have 0 King Bob-ombs, and you're just kind of like, what's the point? 5 being the best, because then you got 5 kings, and man, now you got yourself some fun times. So, let's start with Matt.
I'm going to give this 3.8 King Bob-ombs out of 5. Almost 4 full King Bob-ombs. Not quite, but I think that for an animated kids movie, this was so well done. You're not going to reach the highest limits of like a gripping emotional story or saga with a movie like this, so you're not going to get the highest possible marks, but you're going to get a very high mark from me for this, which is 3.8. So that's me.
Good stuff. Tim?
I am right in that same ballpark. I am at a 3.7.
Nice. I want to be clear that if the ship was in the movie, I might be at a 3.2, but minus the ship, I'm at a 3. I had a good time. I think anyone who goes to see this movie is going to have a good time, besides stuffy critics who are kind of tearing it apart.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But it's also a movie about video game characters, and some studied critic is going to go into the movie and be like, well, I don't get it. Well, of course you don't. It's not your bag.
Nope.
That's okay.
Nope.
So yeah, I think this is a good time. Take your kids. If you want to wait and show your kids at home, fine. This is a very kid-appropriate movie. So
Very.
Yes.
And I'm sure most kids would want to see this movie, because who doesn't like the Super Mario Brothers?
Who doesn't? Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I do think so. I think if I was to build a world, having seen this Nintendo movie, to me it's not that hard at all, because you've already established some world porting.
Yeah, the warp
pipes
seem to go anywhere.
It just makes sense to me that we could easily have an animated, some other Nintendo property movie, like a Legend of Zelda or something like that.
Yeah.
And the end of that movie is the discovery of a warp tunnel or something like that. Till you get a build up to a huge Smash Brothers movie. Where everyone's got to fight for some reason.
Yeah. And they're bringing in whatever Illumination's got partners with.
Yeah. So if that ends up happening, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, and we liked it. We gave it an overall average rating of 3.5 King Bob-ombs out of 5, which is very good. And so I think we say you should see it, especially if you're a Nintendo Super Mario fan, a kid, a parent of a kid. Bring your kid, and thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Yes, thank you for listening and subscribing and downloading, etc. Please keep doing that, and we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da
da da da.